Good morning, everyone. I hope you're keeping well, and that again, if you need anything, you know that we are there for you, and you can come and ask us if you need any help. Psalm 9 that we're looking at this morning is quite a long one, so we're going to get straight into it. Let's read it together. Psalm 9. I will give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart. I will recount all of your wonderful deeds. I will be glad and exult in you. I will sing praise to your name, O Most High. When my enemies turn back, they stumble and perish before your presence. For you have maintained my just cause. You have sat on the throne giving righteous judgment. You have rebuked the nations. You have made the wicked perish. You have blotted out their name forever and ever. The enemy came to an end in everlasting ruins. Their cities you rooted out, the very memory of them has perished. But the Lord sits enthroned forever. He has established his throne for justice, and he judges the world with righteousness. He judges the peoples with uprightness. The Lord is a stronghold for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. And those who know your name put their trust in you, for you, O Lord, have not forsaken those who seek you. Sing praises to the Lord who sits enthroned in Zion. Tell among the peoples his deeds. For he who avenges blood is mindful of them and does not forget the cry of the afflicted. Be gracious to me, O Lord. See my affliction from those who hate me. O you who lift me up from the gates of death, that I may recount all your praises, that in the gates of the daughter of Zion I may rejoice in your salvation. The nations have sunk in the pit that they made. In the net that they hid, their own foot has been caught. The Lord has made himself known. He has executed judgment. The wicked are snared in the work of their own hands. The wicked shall return to Sheol, all the nations that forget God. For the needy shall not always be forgotten, and the hope of the poor shall not perish forever. Arise, O Lord, let not man prevail. Let the nations be judged before you. Put them in fear, O Lord. Let the nations know that they are but men. The psalm divides into two, and I was going to do it in two parts, but then I thought, no, we'll just bring it all together. And the first half of the psalm, or the first 12 verses of the psalm, are filled with thankfulness. They describe what Tim Keller calls the spiritual health of a thankful heart. How in constant gratitude to God we can be renewed in our spirits, how we can experience his peace and his joy filling us as we remind ourselves of all the things we have to be thankful for. Some of those things are big things. The psalmist talks here about salvation from Egypt, rescue from Egypt. We think of our salvation from sin on the cross, how we have been redeemed, how we've been saved, how we've been set free, liberated from that power of the evil one. How oppression has been defeated. In the case of the Israelites, the oppression of their slave owners in Egypt. For us, the defeat of death, the great enemy of our souls, the one that we all fear or used to fear until the resurrection. That death has been defeated. And the knowledge that the Lord reigns, he demonstrates it in Egypt in his sovereignty over the nation, and he demonstrates it in us and in our lives as well, how he reigns, how he is sovereign over all that he has made. Those are the big things that we give thanks for. But there are the small things as well. The psalmist talks about him being my cause, my refuge, and listening to my prayers. And so what we need to think about, as well as the big things that are always there, that will never change, we need to think about the small things. What are the small ways that God has given you comfort during this time? Maybe it's been a phone call from somebody, or a text message, or a word of encouragement. Maybe somebody's left something on your doorstep for you. Somebody has remembered that it's your birthday and they've rung to celebrate or sent a card. All those sorts of small things, the things we have to give thanks for, just even the beauty of the place around us where we live. All of those things remind us to cultivate a thankful heart. But in cultivating a thankful heart, we can still cry out to God for the problems and the difficulties in our world. Being thankful does not mean that we're not realistic about the world and the way it is. Doesn't mean that we're naive about things. There is still affliction, there are still problems, there is still a pandemic, and so we still cry out to God. We still cry out to Him in prayer. Having recognized how thankful we are to Him, we can still bring our prayers to Him and cry out in times of trouble. We recognize that it's not just the situation of the pandemic which causes us affliction, but the fact that even in the midst of that situation, people are still selfish, people are still sinful, people are still sad as well. People still live without God and without hope in the world. Nations still work without a knowledge of God, still forget God, and still make their plans without reference to Him. And that forgetting of God is the core sin of humanity, forgetting who God is, not giving Him His place. So all those things are still true, and so we still need to pray. And we need to pray particularly, I think, in this time, that God's voice is heard amongst all of the other noise, amongst all of the other hubbub, amongst all of the other commentators and all the stuff that's being said and spoken and written at this time. We need to pray that God's voice is heard, that people will turn to Him in holy fear, in reverence and awe, and turn to Him for His protection, His love, His mercy, His grace. We need to pray to Him that He will not forget us, and we know that that prayer is answered. We're told here in the Psalm, He does not forget the needy. He knows our needs. He knows everything about us. Even if we forget Him, He does not forget us. And so He will listen to those prayers and He will respond. He is our eternal hope. He is the one that we can trust for every day and for the future. The psalmist says that in these last two verses. Let me read them to you again. Sorry, in verse 18 rather, he says this: "For the needy shall not always be forgotten, and the hope of the poor shall not perish." The hope of the poor shall not perish. He is there. He hears us. He hears our cries, and He's the one who provides us with all that we need. Give thanks to Him. Cry out to Him today. Take care. God bless.